I'm just going to start us off a little bit as we're waiting for more people to join and just talk a little bit um, about Margaret, our guest for today. So basically, I saw Margaret through live streams, I believe, and that's how I was introduced to her. And then you actually reached out to me, Margaret. Actually, no, that's right. You did actually reach out to me. You were very proactive. You reached out to me, you reached out to Walter, and you were like, listen, I want to be a part of what you guys are doing. I like what you're doing. And she wanted to communicate. And here we are. We made it happen months later because she is so booked doing her empowerment and positivity live streams and posts. And I've just been loving the messages that you've been putting out there. I find it to be rare for someone to be promoting positivity and empowerment at this time. I think that a lot of what we see is kind of doom and gloom. And when Walter was asking me, Margaret, about what I wanted to talk about during this live stream, of course, a lot of the news cycle stuff came up, like Venezuela or, like all the whatever political machinations that we're dealing with right now. But I was like, you know what? I really think that Margaret has spent so much time and care focusing on positivity and empowerment that I really want to focus on how you maintain that positivity and empowerment and that kind of through line of thought while all this chaos is happening all around us. You've been very consistent and it's something that I really admire. So if you could just speak on that, I would love that.
Well, I can tell you this. I have been through so much in my life, okay? And the only way I got through it is through my faith and through being positive. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be alive today. So, this year has been a polarizing year for many of us. As we know, 637,000 Black women have lost their jobs due to these DEI cuts. Okay. I also lost my job because they are automating and instituting these systems to eliminate more jobs. So how are we supposed to survive all of these cuts that these things are making? You're destroying families. You're destroying communities. So what can I do to be the bridge to help people to get through all of these difficult times? Okay. Positivity, uplift people's spirits, uplift people's souls, and letting them know that there is still hope beyond all of these challenges and adversities.
Mm. Well said, well said. And that word hope there really resonates because I was recently told by a mentor of mine, a longtime mentor of mine, that I was organizing around hopelessness, which I don't think at all that I'm doing. uh, but um, but yeah, I was definitely told that, and I want to be cognizant of people's perceptions of that, because if that's what someone from the outside looking in, someone who's supported my work and whatnot, thinks that I'm doing, then that means that I'm doing it wrong. You know what I mean? So that means I need to make some changes, and part of it is starting right here in the new year with talking with you about positivity. And Walter, what are your reflections about my kind of reflections on positivity and empowerment
Yeah.
and whatnot in this white supremacist environment that we find ourselves in?
Yeah. And first of all, Margaret, thank you so much for being here. And I didn't realize how much I needed this talk. I was just like, as I was chatting with Will, I'm like, I suppose we should talk about Venezuela. And Will's just like, we need to be positive. I'm like, oh, thank you. It's just like, thank you for giving me permission to just be positive. And actually, I have independently, I've made a little bit of a switch. I started another newsletter called Rise Together. And I just want to, in the morning, I just want to just spend a few minutes and do like a little podcast talking about my family for myself, just so it's like, and even then I'll do this podcast, I'll start talking about it and I'll start getting down. I'm like, no, 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 this is the positive one. Got to switch back, think of the positive things. And Will, you're just realistic, it's not negative. And I've been thinking about it because there's a lot of times I was reflecting a lot on what you said in our year-end review, where that power of just having people listen to you. And I felt that too, where, I've said things like, all these wonderful educated people. I mean, people with PhDs. It's always amazing. Stephanie's here, and Bob Dan is so accomplished, and it's such a privilege to me that they tune in and listen to me. And I'm very much used to people never listening to me too, where I frame everything as like a joke. It's a lot of being a comedian is just because, well, nobody's listening anyway. I'll make it a punchline and maybe they'll hear that. Maybe something will get in. And in talking with Will, I recognize because you used to have a face that I haven't seen as much lately, but you did have a thing where if I wasn't hearing what you were saying, you'd kind of give me this little frustrated, like little shake of the head. And it wasn't because I was deliberately not listening. It was like I was trying to understand. I wasn't getting it. So there is that kind of overlap there where it's like, and it would take me sometimes weeks. And I haven't seen you do that. I hadn't thought about that because I haven't seen you do that with me in months now. And it's something I deliberately noticed is like he's frustrated because I'm not hearing him. So I would go and think about it. And so, but yeah, there is a negative aspect here. And I've had a lot of people comment on my talks where they're just like, gosh, somehow I feel empowered, even though everything you were talking about was so depressing. And I think, yeah, if we come to the heart of the matter and we build our knowledge about things, it's only by seeing the truth and seeing how bad things really are that we're then empowered to make these changes. But yeah, like as Margaret says, we have to focus on positivity, and it's a big job, but we're all in it together. We're all working together. Nobody else is cleaning up this mess. Let's just do it. Have fun doing it. Support ourselves. And I think thank you for all these thoughts. We are for all the hearts. Please hit those hearts so people get to know Margaret. And
thank you guys so much for the hearts. Yeah, Margaret has been amazing. And like sometimes when I'm feeling, overwhelmed, or when I'm feeling like alone a little bit, because these feelings of loneliness, of grief, of anger sometimes, they're human emotions that are going to arise in a situation when you're in a toxic environment, and sometimes just scrolling through and seeing one of Margaret's messages.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really transformed my whole mindset and my whole kind of being in that moment that I read. And so, it's very important for us to remember that our mindset is very important during these times. Um, and I just really appreciate, Margaret, what you've done in order to help promote a positive mindset. I truly do believe that the work that you're doing is not something that many people could do. And so I just really, really want to give you your flowers for that. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of your thoughts for the future of your work is, and where you see yourself going in 2026?
Well, I just want to tell you, I struggle a lot with depression. Being here in Alaska, it could be 9 a.m. and I thinking it's 9 a.m. It's 9 p.m. And so, what can I do to uplift myself and lift others in the process? Some days I put more notes out than I do other days. So when I'm feeling blue, I'm gonna put something positive out because I figure somebody else is feeling blue too. So we uplift each other, right?
Mm.
And you know, I'm working on some additional coaching certifications because I like building people up and helping people to see what their strengths is and how they can utilize them to reach their desired outcome. And by doing that, they can uplift others in the process.
Yeah.
Okay. And all the knowledge and skills that I have, what good is it if I can't pass it along to someone else to uplift someone else? And that's how I learn as well. Okay. Because we all have learned all these things, but if we don't utilize it, then it's useless.
Yeah,
Okay.
what was the point?
Exactly. So in saying that, I mean, I started this publication and I love it, but I'm not going to do this forever, okay? Because I realize that there are higher callings, okay, that I'm being called to do. This is just one step towards that goal, okay? And then we always have to be looking at the bigger picture. How can we utilize this to go even higher, okay? And
Well,
that's always my thought process. So I have been receiving messages from people, different opportunities, and it's good to be in this situation because I'm coming from a place where I was not valued, and coming here and seeing how
Yeah.
I'm able to make these differences in people's lives. Okay, well, how can I continue to raise the bar? How can I continue to the impact to increase that? We're already international, so how can we continue? Like the army, we have to continue conquer and continue to explore new lands
Yeah.
and bring more people together. And that's what
Yeah,
we're all doing. And that's the reason why we're together here today.
Yeah.
that is 100% what brought us together here. Walter, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that we kind of overlook that the sense of helplessness is by design, and I get kind of frustrated with people because it takes our power away. And they want us to make it seem like this is unavoidable. There's nothing we can do. It's already established. And I see so many people and this is the other thing where, oh, I'm glitching. I hope I don't go
That's
away
okay.
entirely.
You're
We can
back.
hear you.
But I see so many people and they think they're being responsible. They're saying the responsible thing. They're saying, "Oh, we should settle for this half victory instead of the complete victory." Sorry about the glitching. That's just really exciting. That's just special effect. And they think they're being responsible, so they settle for something, and then they set aside that willpower to stand for integrity and stand for what's right and the courage to do the right things. And yeah, the other thing is we don't have to look at the big things. We look at the little things. It's the everyday little victories, saying a nice word to somebody, correcting somebody if they say something that's inappropriate or racist or just unkind. All those little things are what add up. And they give us the power and they give us the encouragement to keep going on. Yeah, this is just awesome. I couldn't plan these special effects if I didn't do it. I
Love
gotta
it.
please subscribe so I can buy a new camera.
Y'all, we need to get Walter a new camera. Right? He's been writing this thing for years. Hasn't been working right the whole time. Come on.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
too lazy. Go ahead and talk. I could jiggle it, I guess.
But yeah, so thank you guys both for your comments about that. You know, I think that part of the reason I get the feedback about hopelessness that I get and people see me sometimes as being pessimistic or negative, I think the reason for that is because of the context that I've chosen to deal with, which is race. And I unfortunately within the context of race, with so many millions of people being largely ignorant, I would say, of the subject matter itself, and not through generally any fault of their own. Like, I mean, this is an environment that was created to make sure that people are inundated with misinformation, with disinformation, with narratives that have been pumped through our lands, through our education system, through our legal system, through our economic system, through our medical system, through all of our systems for generations now, with the foundation of extreme dehumanization. And that is what I'm fighting against. And, I think that um, that is a very scary thing for a lot of people. Just the idea that, first of all, that it exists at all, right? This generations long evil that I'm fighting, that it exists at all is scary to people. The depths of the evil that I'm fighting is scary to people. So then me just talking about it, right, and communicating about it then feels like I'm dragging people to hell, if you will, and I can understand why people feel that way. And I've thought of so many different ways to deal with that. And ultimately, I think that the best way that I can deal with it is to just try to get people to understand that I'm no different from them. I'm not doing this work because I somehow think that I'm some kind of savior or that I'm some kind of messiah or that I'm some kind of person who's like a genius who somehow can lord myself over others. I was indoctrinated into white supremacy just like everybody else, okay, because I live in this country and because that's what this country does. And I don't have any guilt for that because I know that wasn't my fault, okay? How do I not have guilt and how do I know it wasn't my fault? It's because I intentionally and purposefully took it upon myself to educate myself about this subject matter once I realized my own ignorance. So there was a moment of realization, a light bulb moment, if you will, many of which I've created for my students throughout the decades that I taught in K through 12 schools and in community college. And and I had one for myself, right? Where I realized, hey, I've been indoctrinated into this system. I was believing things about race that were not true. And I don't even know how many things I've believed that were not true, right? So I took it upon myself to self reflect, to investigate that question, to learn about the history of race and racism, and then to come up with a way to combat it. And ultimately, what I decided the best way to do that with at this point in time, and it may be anticlimactic for many of you, but is to have conversations. Is to have conversations. You know, I see a lot of people lecturing. I see a lot of people preaching.
Mm.
I don't want to lecture. I don't want to preach. I want to talk to people, human to human level, laterally. All right. You know, I want people to join me on stage and sit down across from me and have a conversation. Strangers. Okay. And this is the work I've been doing these last, purposely and intentionally these last 5 years. I'm going to continue it and expand it as far as I can possibly go. And I hope that creating those human connections, throughout wherever I travel, wherever I go, will, spark a curiosity in people that maybe my journey can inspire people to self-reflect themselves, right? To learn themselves, to investigate and educate themselves. And it can also join people who already have done deconditioning work in the area of white supremacy to organize ourselves across state lines, across international boundaries and oceans. So that is what I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm here with like you said, Margaret, I'm here with you guys because you guys are doing very similar kind of organizing work, bringing people together, empowering people, and ultimately, I just want to say thank you both for the work that you're doing, and you guys inspire me, and hope that my work can inspire you as well.
We are here together. And how can we come together and create even
Yeah.
a bigger thing collectively? Uh, this is grassroots. We should be in
Yeah.
every state, every country, okay? And the message should be the same: unity,
Yes.
okay? Unity.
Oh, Margaret, it's so wonderful. I mean, your energy coming out of the screen is just so beautiful. The way you sit there, I just love it. It makes me so happy. No, I do. And and it's like yesterday I had a talk with Nick, and honestly, I'm feeling grateful today because I'm feeling less foggy. Because I told everybody I went out to ski to clear my head and I crashed and I hit my head. And I was feeling foggy yesterday and I was having this talk and I noticed Will in the chat. And it was right when we were talking about these same sort of things, and it occurred to me how effective Nick has gotten in talking about these things too. He knows the language really well. And so it's really exciting. And I know Will has said that to me, like seeing me talk about it in other places and how quickly this spreads, because people know and just it's only had this power because we don't talk about it. A story that came to mind, just these assumptions that people have. And when I first brought my wife from Peru to the United States, we met with one of my aunts, and my aunt was asking these questions. She's just like, are there cars in your village? And my wife was like, she's like, what? And she's just like, because my wife's from Lima, and she's from a town, it's bigger than New York City. Lima, Peru is. It's bigger than New York City. And she's just like, what the hell is with this person who thinks that because she's an American from a town of like 700 people, that, she can lord over me and think she's better than me? And it was just, and unfortunately for me, it's like, because it was invisible to me. I didn't see, although I felt the effects of this white supremacy. It's always because there's places I've been excluded. I'm just like this, the way it's just you're felt uncomfortable all the time. And the second you leave American shores and you go to another country, all the other countries I've been to, there's this thing in the atmosphere that just goes away. There's peace because they don't have that white supremacy indoctrination just intoxicating everything that's just there. And and just like Will, I'm essentially my basic sense. I'm a compassionate person. I have empathy, and or just when you're forced to treat people in a way or have these negative assumptions about things, and I'll see them all the time in comments where people are like, well, racism has always been here. When people have always exploited other, and people, these are all the justifications people make to justify not facing the inherent cruelty of our ideology and these lies that we've been told. And that's why somebody meets my wife for the first time and assumes that because she's from South America, she's from a village that doesn't have cars or shoes. And I'm just like, why was that the thing that came into your head? And it's like, South America is such a beautiful place to go and visit, and a lot of people have never even considered it. They think, oh, we're going to go to Europe. We're going to go to France. Go to Machu Picchu. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. And it's close. I mean, it's an inexpensive trip to go down there. They're in the same time zone as we are here. They're in Central Time. And it's just sort of all these things that people they're not even aware of. So just that, and the word woke has a reason. We need to have that awakening because Americans are indoctrinated to just disregard the 90% of things that are the problem. We just pretend that doesn't exist. And then we're stuck forever, uselessly wasting our time trying to squeeze more out of this tiny little place that we're allowed to look. Well, let's open the door, pull back the curtain, address the real issues for a change. And that's empowering, even though they're hard problems. But we actually then, we can have access to the place where the problem actually is. We have a chance of winning for a change rather than just spinning our wheels endlessly and fighting with each other.
Yes, well said, man. We do have a chance to win. That is really what inspired my more aggressive actions, okay, of recent times. I recognize that we are in a critical part in American history. We are in a critical part of human history. And I feel like I have to give my as much of my life force as possible, whatever I got left in me, to try to make sure that we turn onto the right path because we're on the wrong path right now, y'all. We're on the wrong path for sure. Okay. So I'm trying to turn this ship around. I know there are so many others of you out there who believe the same thing and want to create a better world, one that's not suffocating with this toxicity that we're experiencing that has its foundations in white supremacy. So, y'all, if you're feeling that, you're not alone. And exactly like Margaret said, this is grassroots. It starts here with these conversations that we're having with just, a mere 93 of us, right? But the conversation grows and expands based on our actions, based on our mindset, based on our ability to gather our physical and mental energies towards these goals. Okay. And that brings me back along to empowerment because one thing that you mentioned, Walter, and that's really empowering for me is to watch you and to watch Nick talk about white supremacy openly, unabashedly, with your audiences. Sorry, my internet seems to be messing up,
That's
but
good. We hear you.
openly, unabashedly with your audiences, unashamed, directly, not skirting the problem, and with a level of understanding that is deep but accessible. And when I see that happening and know that I played some role,
Oh,
you know, because Walter, you've told me that in the past that I played a role in helping you get there. And I know that Nick was a guest on my show, The Contraband Wagon. We talked about his evolution of race consciousness and we walked through his life and I got to share some of my stories too. And now I see you guys yesterday on the live stream talking with each other about white supremacy in depth. I mean, it's just so inspiring and it just honestly, it shows me that the work I'm doing is enough, you know? Of course I want to expand, of course I want to get bigger, of course I want to get more organized, and of course I want to enroll more people into the work that I'm doing. And I also want people to find community in the work that I'm doing too, not just to learn from me. I want to create community outside of these systems that have already been corrupted, you know? So I've got big lofty goals, and when I see you guys doing the work you're doing, is so inspiring. Not just because I see you guys as individual growth and the way that you're putting out messages, getting better and better and better and more impactful, but it's also just like it really just I don't know how to describe any further exactly like how I feel a greater sense of purpose even, when I'm experiencing you guys's, uh, live streams and messages, it's priceless, and it's necessary for us to win. Margaret, take it away.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm sitting here every day as I this is my going into I just finished the year anniversary here on Substack, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, this community, what can I do? How can I serve in a better way that's going to uh, help each individual to get to where they want to go? And I haven't figured it out yet, but and until I do, I'm going to continue the path with helping as many people as I can. Okay. Those that like-minded individuals, okay? If they're not like-minded individuals, then they're not ready. They have to sit over there and wait until they're ready, and then they can join us, okay? That's where I'm at today. So I'm always thinking how I can improve, okay? And the things that I can do, because I've learned so much coming from the government contracting that I had no clue what I'm doing here. So what I've learned this year, incorporating new things to even improve upon what I'm doing. And that's what we have to do every day. Sometimes we just have to throw things against the wall and see if it works or not. I don't know. I never did it before. If it works, fine. Do it, continue. If not, then we have to sometimes divert and change course. We have to remain flexible and adaptable and do just that. Right?
That's so important. I've been thinking about that a lot lately for myself. Walter, what about you?
I'm just I think it's so important, these kind of conversations, we get that perspective from different angles, and that's one of the great things I've learned from you, Will, and it's just because you view white supremacy as something, and then there's times it's like, well, I can't assume what they're thinking, and I'm like, well, I kind of got indoctrinated with it, but from a different kind of perspective, and I can make those assumptions and what the expectations are. And it's so difficult still. We've made so much, it's so good because I feel so much more fluent. And I'm always afraid to, have that unconscious bias come out and destroy all of our progress, And you've been really kind, where you're like, whoa, 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 it's like that was what you said there was wrong, and then I'll fix it. Because it's so often the case that that divide exists. And I understand that, the members of the Black community would not be trusting of me necessarily. They'll look at my profile and be like, well, that guy's probably, that he's probably not sincere. And so it's really important to learn. And especially I love platforming, Black women like Margaret, and just more of an audience, more of that perspective. I've learned so much from my wife, in all these years, her perspective being here, and she still has to tell me about it. But what really concerns me, yes, that divide that's there, because we should be allies, and it just so quickly we can be pushed apart. And social media pushes us apart. We block people that should be our allies because we react too quickly. We got to, as Loretta Ross says, we have to look for those teachable moments. We have to call people in rather than push them out. And as Margaret says too, there are some that have to sit in the corner. That's there's the ones that blatantly come into the room and say, if they say my kids are subhuman, they're out. That's done. I'm not listening to that viewpoint. But there's so many more. And it's especially, I find it's especially among the Democrats, the conservative, like the establishment ones, who keep telling me I'm asking for too much. Oh, you shouldn't be asking for, that's not realistic. You're asking for too much. And they act like they're being the reasonable ones when all they're doing is conceding, And Margaret's theme of being hopeful and positive and daring to ask for the things we want is so big. But in 2026, I want to continue to see us, because I think Nick now is also more capable of reaching out to members of the Black community and have them not instantly reject him as he builds up his authenticity, or people recognize he's sincere. And I'm going to continue to do that. And so that more and more people see these groups and we can trust each other, because the white community and the Black community don't trust each other. That's the fact. And that's what has to be fixed. And it doesn't take much. It takes these lives. And as Will says, it takes these conversations, because we realize, we do want this. We understand each other. We can learn these things. We can gently be taught the things that we're saying that are insensitive, and then stop doing that and be reminded and be put on the path again. We have support groups for alcoholism. We can have support groups for white supremacy too, for the people who sincerely want to be better. And it should be a joyous, powerful thing, because the more you advance, then you transform from being the student to being a mentor for somebody else. It spreads quickly. We're seeing that happen already. We've got 2 or 3 people doing it. If we have 6 next year, it'll have been doubled. It'll be that much better. And so, but I think it'll be bigger than that. I think we'll have hundreds. I think we'll have hundreds by the end of the month. All the people here watching can be part of this movement too. And yeah, and it's just, it makes me feel happy when I'm speaking and I see Will pop into the chat and I'm like, Will's going to be happy because I'm saying the words that he said. And I know I almost feel the joy, even though he doesn't say anything. I know it makes you feel proud the same way as a father I feel proud when my kids stand up, against instances of injustice when they see it and they think they are warriors. I'll tell you, there's a couple instances they've come home just spitting lightning because of something that happened. I say, good job, girls. You stand up for what's true and what's right. And that's the only way to be happy and content. Oh, thanks for your applause, Margaret. You get me all fired up.
Okay. I just want to say I was talking to a millennial a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, why don't we come together to help, the gay community with community, whatever. And they're like, no, we do our own thing over here. They want to be separate. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave them where they at because they don't understand that this is a whole world that we all live in. Our concerns is the same as the white community, the gay community, whoever community. All of these things affect us. And you want to separate and go over there by yourself?
Nope.
Go over there by yourself. What can you learn from being over there by yourself? Okay, you stay over there, and when you wake up, I didn't say this to the person, but when you wake up and you realize where your bread is buttered, you can come back over here. Okay. This is the mentality of people. We can't stay separate and be successful in the world. We have to come together as one.
Yes. Yes. Unity. Exactly like you said. We do need to come together as one. And unfortunately, the reality of our interdependence has become somewhat of a mythology to many people, but the fact of the matter is we're human beings and we are connected, whether we want to be or not. Okay. Whether we want to act like we are or not, the truth is we are. We're connected. And if you just start reflecting on it, even for a moment, it's impossible to deny. And so, yeah, I mean, 2026 for me is a time of leveraging that connect, in every possible way that I possibly can, because our enemy has done so. Our enemy, yes, our enemy has leveraged community through fear, right? And through toxicity, but like they have leveraged a way of getting people to join together and act together based on shared beliefs. We have not done that on our side. And that is why we haven't made the same kind of, huge progress that we're seeing them make. So it's gotta start somewhere, like I don't think that I can be such a leader, people have never looked at me as somebody who could actually lead a movement throughout my life, even though I've been put in leadership positions many, many times. Uh, it has not really worked out. But what I know that I can do is I can bring people into the fold. I can bring people together. I can bring people together so someone else can lead. And that's perfectly fine for me. Like I don't have to be. You know, I'm a revolutionary in the in the most bare bones sense of the word, okay? I am interested in change, in making positive change for this world. How it happens is very important to me because I want it to be done in a way that is moral, in a way that reflects the world that I want to work towards, and in a way that rejects the evil and the toxicity that is within our current world. So the manner in which I go about it is very meaningful. That's why I kind of honed in on conversation, y'all, because what's more human than communication? What's so human than talking to each other, right? And we see it all the time in so many different contexts that people, they think they're so different than the people around them. They think that they're the only one going through something, or they think that no one can understand them, or they think no one cares about them, or all of these different stories that we tell ourselves. But if we just stop and communicate with people around us, we find that that's exactly what it was. It was storytelling that we were doing to ourselves, sometimes to justify our paralysis, to justify not living our life to the fullest. And I just want to offer people the chance to live, man. I want y'all to live. I want y'all to experience life to the fullest. And there is a big barrier between you living your life to the fullest and where most people are at now. And that barrier, in my opinion, is white supremacy.
Yes.
And I want to deal a critical blow to it. And I can only do it with y'all's help. And y'all are doing everything that you need to be doing just by being here and being part of this conversation that we're having right now. Honestly, that is enough. Okay. And I want y'all to remember that that is enough. All you need to do is be part of the conversation, whether it's listening here, whether it's talking to people in your own social circles, okay, whether it's like Walter said earlier, whether it's like interjecting when you see something that needs to be corrected or something that doesn't reflect the world that you want to see. All of those are enough. Okay. Y'all don't need to transform everybody. Right. All we need to do is transform ourselves and to live our values out there in the world openly, unabashedly, notoriously,
Yeah.
as in the law. All right.
I just want to say that each and every one of us is enough as well. Okay. And the change that we want to see in the world begins with us. Okay. You don't look at the other people, do your part. Once you've done your part, then
Yeah.
there it is. Then we can help other people as well. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And as
yeah.
Mr. Simply said, to simply check yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Look inward, y'all. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it's been blazing trails, you know, we're doing something different. And I made a deliberate choices in my life where I was looking at all the options that seemed to be presented to me. And I'm just like, none of these seem like they're gonna work. So I'm just gonna go off into another path that's never been explored, you know? And a lot of I remember bringing my daughter home in her little basket from the hospital, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to do the opposite of everything that was done to me, you know, and like no real plan other than do the opposite. And it's like you boldly go forward on something that's never been tried or you haven't seen modeled, but now we can model it, because I've done it now. They're in high school, they're wonderful kids, they don't have these issues, they don't have the mental health issues, they don't even they don't have smartphones. That's another thing too, but we can do all these things differently. And the other thing too is that people are a lot more willing right now. I mean, I've been saying a lot of these same things. I've learned a lot in the last year through these conversations with Will, but these have been things I've been working on and thinking about, since like my wife came here and I saw how she was treated. And in 5 years ago, people weren't open to hearing this. There would not have been 128 people in this live listening to this. What's happened is white supremacy can only live if it's ignored, if it's in that blind spot. It's like the transgressions of the father that we're just not allowed to talk about. They're only allowed to survive if we don't direct our attention to them. If we don't have the disclosure or the exploration, whatever the legal term is, you're like, this and this and this happened. What do you got to say for yourself? Then it collapses. And they have overstepped. The white supremacists have overstepped. And I've been telling everybody, we got to stop calling them fascists like that's an external thing, like this came from somewhere else. This isn't an aberration. This is the system. This is not the system acting or breaking down. This is how it was designed to act. The gatekeepers allow the evil people through and they block the compassionate ones. That's the system that exists. And so when they say, oh, we're not fascists, they're actually speaking the truth. They're the Confederacy. They're the KKK. They are homegrown American evil that's been in this country since the beginning. And the one thing they can't afford is to be exposed as such, to have us pay attention to that. And that's why they fight so hard to not let us teach about real history. That's why they talk about black crime, but they never talk about white on white crime. I just wrote a semi-satirical article where I'm apologizing on behalf of all white people in answer to JD Vance's comment. Like we shouldn't, like, oh, I actually think we should apologize. How about that? I'm sorry because of all the evil that white people have done. I think we need to be held accountable for that. I think we need to start dedicating our lives to fixing all that evil. Even if I wasn't necessarily the one doing it, the problem's here. It's my job to fix it. I don't care where the problem came from. And so these are the kind of comments, but it's all because of them. It doesn't end with the guy in the Oval Office. He's a symptom of the underlying disease. The underlying disease is white supremacy. And if we just start talking, because people are reluctant to talk about it, people are conditioned not to talk about it. They're conditioned to disregard it and look at all these other problems instead. Well, what about this? What about that? And even good people. And so that's really where we need to appeal first, is the good people that have this inclination to say, well, racism's always been there and people have always treated each other bad and people are going to do what they want to do for profit. All of that is the arguments of white supremacy to enable white supremacy. When people say you're speaking in generalizations, these deflections, these thought-terminating cliches, we're all indoctrinated and groomed to just regurgitate. Examine them. Stop them. See the truth. Try something else. Because what we've done up till now, it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked, has it? So let's do something different.
Well said. Well said. And it's a time for all of us to reflect on what our values are. What's the foundation of our actions? And I think that a lot of people have been skirting by without actually reflecting on what those are. And for me, it's truth. I value truth. I value life. I value protecting and creating an environment where life can flourish, y'all. That is incredibly meaningful for me. And it informs everything that I do. I value kindness as a way of being. I value community and the creation of community. Um, these are my values, y'all. I've written them out. I've written pieces on them, and I encourage you guys to do the same. The work that I'm going to be doing is deconditioning work, helping people have time and space necessary for them to go through the emotions that come up with realizing that you were betrayed, that you were labeled without your consent so that you could be placed within a tyrannical system of power. That happened to all of us. That is a fact. And I think that a lot of people have not even remotely taken step one to deal with that fact and to come to terms with that fact. And why? Because it's devastating. It's devastating to believe that these gargantuan forces from your very birth, from before you were born, right, had already put you within a system that was going to strangle you, that was going to make you feel like you had a 20-ton weight on your back, that was going to make you feel like you had to be mean to people, that you had to compete with everyone around you, that you had to put other people down, you had to step on them in order to put yourself higher. You know, um, all of these bad habits, all of these negative thoughts and actions come out of this labeling that is done to all of us. And the only way that we can get out of it, guys, the only way that we can get out of it is acknowledge it and accept that we can fight against it and that we have the power to fight against it and that our lives can actually be more positive and empowered if we do. It takes a long it takes most people a long time to get there. Why? Because that level of betrayal, it comes with a lot of grief. It just comes with a lot of grief. You have to give yourself a chance and space to grieve. And where does that chance and space exist right now? Almost nowhere. Almost nowhere. Can you go to church and get it? Not most people. Not most people. In fact, many pastors and preachers are preaching white supremacy from the pulpit.
Mhm.
So no, you're not going to get it a lot in churches. Are you going to get it at home? A lot of people are not going to get it at home because the people who would give it to them, their parents, their uncles, their aunts, a lot of them have also been indoctrinated and haven't been deconditioned. So therefore, you're just going to get whatever they got, you know? And what about at school? Are you going to get it there? Well, you're going to get it there because teachers are afraid. Why? Because states have passed laws to make sure that we only teach about race in a very narrow, limited way, a way that's never going to give you the time and space to deal with the betrayal you've experienced. In fact, it may not even give you a chance to even learn about that betrayal. So you're not getting it there. Where are you getting it? And that's what I realized, guys, is that there was really no place for people to get what they need in order to actually change this problem with this, which is a problem that we individually and collectively have power over. We need to reclaim that power that we have, okay? That we've given away without even our knowledge.
Mm,
And that is the work I'm doing, is to help people reclaim that. And it starts very simply with the conversation and reflection, guided reflection, so people can think about how white supremacy has impacted their life, how it has impacted their life, where they can grieve the negative consequences of that,
mm,
and where they can begin to then, and only then can they begin to see a possibility for a better future. So it's a process, y'all. And I want y'all to be patient with each other and with yourselves, okay? Because no one's gonna get it right on the first time. There needs to be room for mistakes, and there needs to be room for people to be
mm,
people to be upset. And that's perfectly fine. It's so human, y'all.
mhm,
Okay, that we cannot shut that aspect of this process down. It's a critical part of deconditioning ourselves, is to go through those emotions. I went through it, you know. I went through deep depression. I went through, just feeling like I was grasping in the dark because, I was lied to at such a fundamental, deep level, that
yeah.
that it's mind blowing, right? And so yeah, everyone needs time and space to deal with that, and there's nothing more empowering than walking into a space feeling betrayed and realize that there's a space there waiting for you to actually deal with that betrayal. That shows care. That shows kindness. That is the first step to developing community for something that people have no idea there's a community for them to join. Yes, guys, we're here. Me, Walter, Margaret, and many others. We are here, and we've rejected white supremacy, and we're doing it vocally. We're doing it intentionally, purposefully, and you guys, you can join us. All right. You don't
Mm,
have to accept the world as it is. Okay. You can join us and try to create a better world, which all of us are doing day by day, simply by creating conversations and much more in our future. As Margaret said, we're going big. We're going as far as we possibly can. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to us and supporting us. 153, 154 viewers right now, and
it's great.
we appreciate you guys' support. Please, if you haven't subscribed to Margaret, please go ahead and subscribe to her, because her Substack is so inspiring and empowering, guys. And you're just gonna be on your Substack feed with all the chaos and stuff that's going on. You're gonna read her message. It's just gonna fill your heart. And it's just gonna fill your spirit. It's just gonna fill you up. And you're gonna feel like you can do whatever you need to do. All right. So if that's something you want, is that something you value, then go ahead and click that
Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Walter, I am in awe of you, and I listening to you and watch your videos and your articles, and I see resonance in our messaging, all three of us, and we listening to each other, and I like, yeah, they got that, and I appreciate and love you guys so much, and for getting together today.
much love.
This, this has been so lovely. I love you, Margaret. Your energy, it just makes me happy just having you be here. I guess I just want to ask, we want to talk about positivity. Maybe are there any other positivity tips in the light of all this that come to mind? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but how do we keep going on? How do we keep going forward? Leave us with some hopeful thoughts and empowering thoughts. I give you the opportunity.
Well, we just continue. I traveled the world, and when I see, whether it was Iraq, Turkey, wherever, we all are more the same than we are different. And you realize that when you travel around the world, we have a lot of the same concerns. So why not come together to figure out how we can resolve these issues within our home, within our community, by opening up and sharing these stories we allow each other to heal and to elevate ourselves to higher levels of consciousness.
Woohoo! I think
Yeah.
she did it all right there. I've experienced that on Substack. I wrote an article about racism in the medical context and what happened. Uh, a Maori author from New Zealand shares her article about the exact same thing.
Nice.
And boom, our articles are so similar. Our experiences are practically identical,
Yeah.
hundreds of miles away, and we made that connection, and now we're connected. What could possibly come out of that connection, in terms of two people fighting against racism, right? Fighting against discrimination in the medical context, hundreds of miles away. We can now connect, guys.
Yeah.
Have to leverage our ability to connect over these vast distances at this point. We need to join our powers and find out how we can work together. Okay. And it just starts with a conversation. So I'm so grateful, Walter, to you for continuing to bring us together and create these conversations, these opportunities for growth and connection. And Margaret, I'm so grateful for you for reaching out, finding us through your work and sharing your positive messaging with us and your empowerment strategy. Um, just know that both of you are doing incredible work that I value greatly. And I'll be, of course, happy to collaborate with you all in the future. And I look forward to seeing what y'all do.
I just want to add one thing to just encourage people to understand that all these negative things that you assume about human nature are really just the confessions of white supremacy. All those things they deliberately do, they try to pretend as if it's just natural to human beings. And so I think that's a lot of why a lot of our us creative people or empathetic people, we fall into depression because we're told that human beings are bad and we're just like, I don't think I'm bad. I don't think that's the case. And so this whole world just pressures us constantly. And if we could just be like, wait, that's not me. They're projecting their crimes on me. It's not me. We can push that away. And so many people I meet in chats, they're just like, you're being unrealistic, Walter. This is what's going to happen. People are going to corrupt these systems. If anything you try to do that'll be good, it'll be corrupted by bad. It's like, no, the white supremacists will try to destroy it. But together, the rest of us who want compassion and want to take care of it, we will overcome that. And we just have to give ourselves permission to get rid of all those lies that have been told, to deflect from the evils, to hide their guilt for the evils that they've done and project it onto us, and understand that human beings are good. Human beings are good, and this toxic ideology of white supremacy can be unlearned. Everybody can unlearn it. It's not inherent to the human condition. It's something that can be removed like a tumor, and then we all have happier, healthier lives.
Yes.
Amen.
Let's get happier and healthier together, every join me in that endeavor. Um, and yeah, thank you for joining me in this endeavor today. 170 total viewers today. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Make sure you subscribe to Margaret. Make sure you subscribe to Walter. Feel free to subscribe to me. This month, I already have several people lined up to speak to about their evolution of race consciousness. So if you're interested in watching some deconditioning, light deconditioning, all right, I'm not going as hard as I will in my future seminars on here because I'm trying to give people, like I said, the space and grace to deal with everything they're experiencing. But you will get a taste of like the work I'm going to be doing on a much larger scale in the future. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you follow me here. And Walter and Margaret, you guys enjoy the rest of your day here. Thank you so much for joining me for this live.
Thank
And
you. Thank
uh,
you.
yeah, I appreciate you guys more than words can express. So much love to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye.
Margaret. Thank you, Will. Wonderful.
Thank
Thanks
you,
to all the
Will.
people.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
All right. Bye
guys.
bye.
Bye.